Since the onset of the bloody war in Yemen, the United Kingdom has always insisted that it's not a party to the Saudi-led campaign. Despite all the denials, the British military has always been playing a key role in maintaining the Saudi war machine, especially in training, advising, and supplying the Saudi Air Force bombing the country. New documents have shed further light on the corners of this sinister cooperation.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.
Declassified UK has now discovered that Britain has a secret detachment of up to 30 troops in Yemen, where they are training Saudi forces in the middle of the world's worst humanitarian catastrophe.
Well, it should be hugely significant given what it uncovers: British complicity in torture, which goes back many years. Britain was a key player in the Bush president's administration's war on terror, helping with rendition and torture. We know this. The cases were brought to court in this regard. But sadly, we have a crisis of our news media in the UK. This story has not been picked up by any of the mainstream media organisations, the BBC, ITV, Sky News, etc. And so the public is not being made aware of these revelations. Declassified UK has done a great job since it was established in investigating the dark and murky corners of British foreign policy. But it's not receiving its due coverage in the mainstream media, because we don't have a media which in a normal democracy it has a mission of holding the powerful to account on behalf of the people. We today in Brexit Britain have a media that sees its role, a mainstream media that sees its role as holding the people to account on behalf of the powerful.
The British personnel are reportedly based at Al-Ghaydah airport in Mahra province of eastern Yemen. The troops are believed to have been there for several months. In the words of Hamid Zabnout, a tribal sheikh in Mahra, the tasks assigned to them so far are military training and logistical support, either for Saudi forces or Saudi-backed militia that are elements from the Southern Transitional Council, a Yemeni separatist group. Local sources say the British troops are flown into the airport by Saudi military aircraft and bypass normal visa checks. Since the Saudis have banned mobile phones inside the airport, it is almost impossible to film or photograph the British troops. In an interview with Britain's Ambassador Michael Aaron in late June, Yemen's Al Mahriya TV channel repeatedly questioned him over allegations of UK forces haven't been seen in the east of the country. This is how the British ambassador replied.
نحن نساعد جهود مكافحة الإرهاب وجهود مكافحة التحريض، وهذا كان موقفنا من زمان. عندنا علاقات جيدة ووثيقة مع الحكومة الشرعية.
Fighting terrorism with up to 30 forces in a country existentially threatened by the Saudi-led war is a claim dismissed by many as untenable.
Well, they are there to aid the state terrorism that's been unleashed by the Saudis on the people of Yemen. That's very clear. This is doublethink on the part of the British ambassador, Mr. Ayton. This is them trying to justify something that cannot be justified by saying that they're fighting terrorism. When you're on the side of the Saudis fighting terrorism, then you have to take a sharp look at yourself in the mirror. The Saudis practice terrorism. This is less a country and more a family business whose primary business is murder. Just ask the widow of Jamal Khashoggi or his bereaved fiancé, rather, if you want that confirmed. Never mind the thousands of people who are routinely executed in that kingdom of blood. So Mr. Ayton is, again, showing his true colours, not as an ambassador of the British democracy, but as an ambassador of British state crimes abroad. The Saudis have unleashed hell on Yemen since 2015. It's a disaster for the people of Yemen. Thousands and thousands have died. People have suffered famine, disease. Thousands of children have died every single day. And the British are up to their neck in blood, in Yemeni blood. That's the reality.
Bat Khalashat, a provincial deputy for youth affairs, estimates that Saudi and Western forces have built more than 100 underground cells inside the airport. Rights organizations say Saudi forces run a prison camp inside the airport, in which detainees are subject to cruel torture or degrading treatment. According to Geneva-based advocacy group SAM for Rights and Liberties, Yemenis are being tortured by the British-backed Saudi forces at the airport.
Bertolt Brecht, the great German playwright from the 1930s and 40s, said it best. The crimes pile up so high they become invisible. And the crimes of the British state have become so invisible because there are so many of them, and that people are distracted by tittle-tattle, by the identity politics, by celebrity, by sport, etc. But this is a sordid turn of events when we have British military personnel, a country that likes to consider itself a pillar of human rights and stability and standing for everything good in the world, has its own military personnel complicit in the torture of Yemeni nationals. It's a disgrace.
Whereas the Saudi-imposed blockade has left millions of Yemeni civilians on the brink of famine, turning the airport into a prison where arbitrary detention and torture are practiced, all with the help of the British, indicates how far London is willing to go in support of authoritarian regimes such as Riyadh. According to SAM's president, Tawfiq al-Hamidi, Saudi forces operate the airport's prison where they receive logistical support and military training by British troops stationed at the airport since the beginning of this year.
Britain is playing a material role in the war in Yemen. British soldiers have been training Saudi troops who are destined to go to Yemen to fight. British RAF personnel have been helping Saudi's air war against Yemen. They've been helping with targeting. They've been helping with equipment. They've been helping to maintain equipment. They are deeply embedded with Saudi's war effort in Yemen. And again, it's a disgrace. Again, it's iniquitous. But again, it's no surprise given where Britain is culturally and politically in this post-Brexit landscape.
Meanwhile, as of February this year, British officials authorized the export of almost £1.4 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia in the quarter after the UK resumed sales of weapons, generating public outrage.
It's all about money. It's all about money. Human rights is but a fig leaf when it comes to money. Britain's relationship with the Saudis. Britain enjoys a symbiotic security and defence relationship with the Saudis. They train Saudi RAF pilots. Saudi military officers are trained at Sandhurst, Britain's renowned officer training school in the UK. They're on the ground in Saudi Arabia. They run train and equip operations. They maintain Saudi's air force. There's billions and billions in arms sold from the UK to the Saudis. Indeed, the Saudis are Britain's single biggest customer for recipient of US arms. And it's all about money. It's a source of revenue. And even more so now, Britain is desperate for revenue after leaving the EU. And so it's willing to go to plumb even lower depths than it already has when it comes to propping up these unsavoury regimes in order to benefit financially from them.
The detention and torture of Mahra residents is just another horror to add to the list of the Saudi-led coalition's unlawful conduct in Yemen. But it's also another case in which the British government is aiding and abetting Saudi Arabia to go on with its inhumane crimes, putting profit before Yemeni lives.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.